So then we get into investment stuff. If you're looking at buying it for making money, we'll have some little history of facts here. Like Bitcoin was first transacted for 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas in May 2010. So for that much money today, if you had that much Bitcoin, you get 1.1 million pizzas.
Actually, the price went back up since then, so you probably get 1.2 million now. So.
But either way, like that's just since 2010, it's changed dramatically. At the beginning of the year, Bitcoin was about $15 billion market cap, or about the size of AutoZone. Today, Bitcoin's probably actually at about 40 billion right now today. So it's about the size of John Deere. So it's, to get an idea of scale. John Deere's a global company. Bitcoin's a global currency. There's a lot of people. I don't know exactly how many core developers there are on Bitcoin. I think it's like
it depends on what you define as core.
Well,
because there is no real company behind Bitcoin. That's one thing that should be clear, is that it's all decentralized. People work on this stuff. There are companies that pay for core developers to work on things, but they're usually in and around the space. But I don't really know.
I don't know if people participated in it, I guess, so far.
Yeah, total participation is probably over 100 different core devs that have worked on it
Basically
in the last
time.
8 years. And then the total market cap for all the cryptocurrencies is over 80 billion right now. So it's even bigger than Lockheed Martin. But at the same time, like Lockheed Martin is a tiny part of the total global economy. And if you look at it in terms of market cap, the money that we use to just transact and go through business, as a global economy, that's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like $15 trillion. And our total market cap isn't even at $0.15 trillion yet. So if you look at what Bitcoin could possibly, and cryptocurrencies in general, what they could possibly displace, and I think the writing's already on the wall. It's just a matter of time of everyone getting caught up with it, that I think they will replace it, because pretty much every fiat currency out there is having troubles, that they're either stuck at super low interest rates, or they're going to have they already have huge debt to GDP ratios. And well, when someone owes all that debt to some other countries, what's one way to get out of your debt to other countries? Is print money. And so I think there's a lot of ways cryptocurrencies will go way up in value versus traditional currencies, just because all the baggage that traditional currencies have with them right now. But yeah, there's huge potential for how big they can get.
And with most cryptocurrencies, especially the largest ones, I don't know if Ethereum they're going to be capped at some point for.
Yeah, I think they actually cut out the graveyard script though for the difficulty bomb thing.
So Bitcoin's capped at 21 million. So if you have a fixed number of tokens and there's more people need them, obviously the price per token is going to have to go up. So.
Ethereum, they mint 30 million every year, but it doesn't increase or decrease. But it should go to zero when they change over to proof of stake. But it's all uncharted territory. It's the first time a currency's gone from proof of work to proof of stake.
Kind of skipped over proof of stake earlier, so I guess we can back up real quick.
Yeah.
It's basically a similar idea of proof of work, is that you have this large investment in it. You just basically stake the money, and you say, hey, this money at this address I can't move it because I'm staking this, and because I stake all this money and say I can't use it, I can say, well, this is valid, and so on. So basically, and if they are bad, then they can lose the money. So
yeah,
don't follow the rules.
Yeah, and the proof of stake, it works with the whole Nash equilibrium, that you're trying to everyone's doing the stuff in their best interest and being as selfish as possible, yet it makes the system work. Because proof of stake, like Dash is, I think, 100 or 1,000 coins, and I think Ethereum said they're going to try and do 1,000 coins as well. Well, right now 1,000 Ethereum coins is like $250,000. So if you have $250,000 that you can't move for a long period of time, you're probably going to do everything you can to make sure the currency that you're holding that in functions as well and as smoothly as possible. So it's kind of a self-reinforcing thing. But proof of stake hasn't been done as only proof of stake. Almost all of them have been hybrid models of some sort.
Yeah, Bitcoin and Litecoin are proof of work, pure proof of work.
Yeah, Dash and Decred, I think, are the two largest currencies that are proof of work, proof of stake. I think there are some other
Dash
ones.
is like 90-10?
No, it's 45, 45.
45, okay. 45, 45, 10, okay.
But ultimately, yeah, there's a lot of details to get into that. And that's one of the things that cryptocurrencies are complicated. So if you're really unsure about whether you should, invest in one or not, probably the answer is no for most of them. And really, I think, in terms of stability and a lot of other factors that you're looking for in investments, Bitcoin and Ethereum and like all the ones that are in the top, 3 or 4. Well, actually, Ripple's in the top 3, so I won't count that. There's only a couple good currencies, and probably the ones that stick around, that have been around the longest, are the ones you want to look for, and the ones with the largest market cap. But yeah, there's almost too many things to go into to really, do really good justice on that. And I'll go over my rubric a little bit for investment. Well, I might as well do it now. But usually I look at, technically, read the white paper, does it make sense? Which, for you guys, if you're a little less technical, probably not going to be a viable thing to do. But
This is Bitcoin 101.
yeah, this is Bitcoin 101. So, but usually it's beyond that. Then I look at governance. What's different that, Bitcoin's been stuck on a big debate about how they're going to scale the currency, and it hasn't moved in like 3 years almost. And so, Bitcoin, they have their own governance model, which is pretty much no governance model. And so that's one. And then, like Dash has a proof of stake, proof of work hybrid. And Ethereum, they still have a benevolent dictator of sorts. And so these are all 3 different ways that, the biggest problems come around governance. And that's kind of the thing that I look at. And then it also comes down to just, do they have enough market cap? And, what is their developer ecosystem around there? And developer ecosystem, from somebody that's not a developer, is a bit tougher to get a feel for what that's like. But it really just comes down to, if you hear people building stuff with it, do you hear people building stuff with Bitcoin or Ethereum? A lot of people are building stuff with Ethereum right now. And I think Ethereum's got probably the best developer community. And so that's maybe one other aspect to look at beyond just, okay, does it have a good market cap and does it seem like not a scam? But yeah, so that's the gist of how I usually look at investing in cryptocurrencies.
So the rest of it, we just have charts. So if there's any other questions about like functioning stuff, we can answer those now. But otherwise, we're just going to kind of look at, kind of the history of the different currencies and kind of their price over the history. Well, Bitcoin's obviously got the longest history because it's the first one.
Litecoin's got the second longest history. I don't know exactly when it started, but it's probably 2013,
2012, I think.
2012.
Yeah. So either way, this is Bitcoin's chart from only 2000, about midway 2010, which gets so low we can't really see anything. So we kind of blew up each one of these peaks as kind of their own, ramp up and then lost a bunch of value to kind of give you an idea that, it looks like this often.
Yeah.
But every time it's done it, it's been higher and higher and higher and higher. So, today we're kind of in the same thing where we're way up at, it went from 1,100 around the first of the year, 1,000 first of the year.
To almost 3,000 a few months or a month ago.
About a month ago, yeah. And it's at about 2,300 today. So it's kind of in that ramp up. I would imagine it's going to probably, I would surely hope price correct down a little bit. And then, like all of these, there's some, don't know how long exactly. They have different periods of time that they rest and then they go back up. This has been the longest one from the initial spike, which this here was at the exchange that Harry lost money at, Mt. Gox. Because
Mt. Gox got hacked, and a lot of people thought they were hacked for a long time. And so, really, that peak probably shouldn't be nearly as high because
more like down
probably closer to like $600 or $700 because everyone was, that was the biggest volume exchange. So all the other markets more or less kind of priced off of that. And so, there's a lot of people that were trying to get their coins out. And because different people had different ideas about whether it'd be easier to get the US dollars or the Bitcoins back out, there was a big price change that drove the price way up because people were trying to get their money out and the exchange wasn't solvent. So it did kind of screw with prices, and really Mt. Gox, I think, set back Bitcoin probably a year or two because there's so many people that there's a lot of interest in it, and then, oh, look, it blew up. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's because the exchange went kaput, not so much because Bitcoin broke or anything like that.
But yeah, just kind of give you an idea of the history of Bitcoin and that, all cryptocurrencies kind of have these cycles that kind of go up and down. But I would say Bitcoin, the interest in cryptocurrencies has been, all cryptocurrencies has really been going up. You'll see that in some of the other charts as well.
And I've been to a lot of different cryptocurrency conferences and blockchain conferences, token conferences, every conference you can imagine in the space. And just talking to people, it seems like almost none of them there have been around for more than a year. So most everyone that's going out and learning about things are very new to the space. So there's a lot of developers and people putting money into this, starting companies, that a lot of the cool services and stuff will be coming down the pipe the next few years here. But there's still just a huge influx of new people into this. It's very early stages yet.
We'll go through some more. So this is the total market cap of all cryptocurrencies together, which, for the most time it was basically Bitcoin until recently. You see a lot of other ones. So this is all of them except Bitcoin. So this would be basically Litecoin and Ethereum and all the other tokens and stuff. So again, they didn't have a lot of value for a long time, and then
Pretty much in the last year.
Yeah, basically last year they
Really,
started,
last 6 months.
and then where the big spike is mostly tokens. Token sales have really driven the price up for demand.
And some of that kind of comes back to like why tokens are valued so highly as far as market cap is because they structured these in a way that, well, they only sell like 10% of their coins, and well, if they were getting this much for those 10% coins, now the other 90% what they're still holding on to or aren't distributed yet technically count to their market cap. So there's definitely overinflated values for some of this as far as tokens are concerned.
Where Bitcoin doesn't have anything on top of it, so Bitcoin's value is Bitcoin's value. And most of Bitcoin's, 3/4 of them are already in circulation. I think there's 17 million, about minted so far of the 21, and they all are basically in circulation somewhere. So so again, this is basically the dominance of Bitcoin. So this is, of all the market caps combined, Bitcoin made up, at one point, 95%. Well, one point is 100%. But so you can just see that slowly, people putting money into things that aren't Bitcoin, basically. And then, beginning of the year, it started to really get a lot of interest. But it was until a few months ago that the tokens and Ethereum really went up a lot. You can kind of see Ethereum.
Ethereum started the year off at like $10, and it's at 200 right now.
And it was at a peak of 400 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah, now it's sitting around like 230 or something.
So this is just the last year, kind of zoomed in. You can kind of see that Ethereum, got a lot more interest here, and then it really went up the rest of it. So.
And it kind of goes back to that token thing too with Ethereum. That tokens take out of the circulating supply of Ethereum. So you have a token that's not Ethereum anymore. That takes out of circulation. So there's, even though Ethereum appreciated a lot in price, probably a lot of that was from the token sales. And I still think there probably will be a lot of cool token sales that actually come to fruition at some point, but it's still, there's just so many out there, and it's very hard to really judge how good a team's going to be at actually executing some of these things, that I'd still be very reticent about trying to invest in some of those.
So this is the Ethereum chart, the history of Ethereum. This is the last year of Ethereum. You can kind of see the spike up around the green line is US dollar value. The gold line is compared to Bitcoin.
Ethereum's only like 2.5 years old, I think, now.
Yeah, it's pretty young compared to Bitcoin, which again is why it's a little more volatile, because there's a lot more, it's less road tested. So this is Litecoin, the next oldest. Litecoin is basically identical to Bitcoin in many ways, except for it has shorter block times, which means they can get more transactions through the network. And I think they're 84 million is their coin cap instead of 21 million. So there's a lot more of these tokens, but
and they use a little bit different proof of work. So it's not the same miners that control Bitcoin control Litecoin.
So it's a different set of. It's actually a different. Their guessing algorithm uses less energy and more expensive hardware, basically. So it's a little bit different than Bitcoin in that regard.
And the nicer part, with Litecoin being almost like Bitcoin as far as protocol is concerned, some of the protocol upgrades that they want to do to Bitcoin have already been implemented on Litecoin. And so Litecoin is actually a much more advanced currency than Bitcoin is in terms of what you can do on it. And there's even more things that will be coming down the road faster to them than to Bitcoin, just because there's less value there's less risk, so there's less chance people are going to push back against it.
Which their latest price increase was because they implemented the big feature that Bitcoin's debating on whether to implement right now, which helps increase the amount of transactions you can do at any one time. This is Dash. So Dash has been around for about 2 years also.
It was earlier. It used to be called Darkcoin, and there was a lot of fishy stuff happening early on in there. Like the founder accidentally printed like Instamine, like a couple. Now I don't know how much what the market cap actually is now, but like it's hundreds of millions of dollars that he has, and it was an accident. And the guy's kind of a tweaker. He's actually went to rehab for meth, I heard. But either way, the stuff behind it, that's the beautiful part about cryptocurrencies. You don't really need to trust the person that runs or creates it. You just need to know that it works as far as your governance algorithm, proof of stake, proof of work. Does the cryptography work? Can anyone hack it? And Dash is pretty much a copy of Bitcoin, but it does have this proof of stake on there, which it is the largest currency with a proof of stake way of doing things. So they actually have these masternodes that you can, if you have 1,000 Dash, you can vote. And these masternodes vote on protocol upgrades and other things. So one of the scaling solutions for Bitcoin was increasing the block size to 2 megabytes. That debate's been going on for like 3 years now. They voted they voted it. They didn't get it implemented right away, but they voted it in and accepted that as a new valid thing in 24 hours on Dash. So that is one of the powerful things about having a different governance model to it. And I still say Dash is, I still like it as a currency, but it does have that Ponzi scheme problem where it's it's a lot easier to increase your market cap by
Good marketing.
By good marketing. You have because when you have this proposal system that they have as part of the proof of stake is that these masternodes not only vote on the protocol, but they also vote on what to do with 10% of all the mining rewards. And so they can spend that 10% however they want, and whatever the masternodes vote on, that's where it gets paid. And right now it seems like they're paying way too much for marketing.
And not enough for developers that actually write the code that improve the protocol.
Yeah.
So that's the downside about governance is that allows people in the loop again, and people can be corrupted.
So there is that is one thing that I'm worried about with Dash, but I would still say it's not a bad buy. But
this Monero is kind of similar to probably more similar to Zcash than Dash.
Yeah, it uses some really advanced cryptography called ring signatures, so you can do multi-signature payments really easily, and they don't even know who's paying those payments. So it's really secure as far as privacy is concerned. But other than that, the other innovation that they have, and this is why I do have a little bit of Monero, is their governance model. It's built in that every 6 months they plan a fork in. So when they want to change software, they know in 6 months that's the longest it's going to take to implement if it's not super contentious. I don't know as far as other layers of governance, but I do know that's one feature of Monero that is different than a lot of other coins, that they plan in upgrades.
And Zcash is the chart's not a very good chart because they had to zoom way out for when they originally released the coin. It's by far the youngest coin as far as currency goes of the big ones too. And I wish the charted this better, but the green line is actually US dollars, but that's got, again, kind of like Monero, a lot of more advanced privacy features.
It uses some, and then between like ring signatures and zero knowledge proofs, like it's magic math. Like it doesn't seem like it's possible that you can do these things, but pretty much zero knowledge proofs allow you to, not know anything and still know that they paid that they had rights to send that money to you, but you have no history on it. So it's probably the most private thing. Problem is though, those take a lot larger signatures, and it's just a less scalable currency. So it's gonna be harder to make that as
transactions will be more expensive.
As usable as Bitcoin. So there are drawbacks to all different types of cryptos. So,